and department within a firm to contribute its competitiveness. So, we will discuss these three one by one. So, first is five forces analysis, Porter's five forces. Porter basically introduced that analysis, so that is why it's called as Porter's five forces analysis. Okay, pest analysis is particularly good for identifying whether and why the certain markets will be expected to grow in the future. However, just because a market is growing, it does not follow that it is possible to make money at it. You see, this is the starting point. Like in the pest analysis, we discussed, let's suppose if economic condition is going well, if you can say demographics are in your favors, the social trends are in your favor, right? The change in the social trend is in your favor. Similarly, do you have the latest technology, etc. So, means now this pest analysis tells us that the entire market is growing, the conditions are ideal, but still what we say, it does not mean that if all these conditions are existing, so you will be making money, right? Why? Because there are various areas. Let's suppose if all these conditions are good, but still there is a level of competition, or there are five areas, key areas, forces which affect the level of competition in an or competitive environment. So, you may not be making that much money which what you were expecting earlier, right. So, looking at the individual firms, its ability to earn higher profit margin will be determined by whether or not it can manage that five forces effectively than the competitors. So, now this is the point, right, that how those five forces which are existing, that we are going to discuss, that how you are managing them and how your competitors are basically managing them. If you are managing them well, so then obviously you are going to make money, means your revenue will increase, your business will expand. But if they are managing better than you, so even though all the pest analysis tells you a very favorable conditions, but still you will not be making money, because you might be weak in those five key areas, and others might be using those five key forces or key areas, managing very well. So, what are those five forces? Number one, rivalry among the existing competitors. So, this is the number one point we will discuss. Then threat of the new entrants, then bargaining power of the supplier, then bargaining power of the buyer, and the threat of substitute product. So, these are the five forces that you must know, that how they are going to affect the level of competition. So, let us discuss them one by one in detail. Competitive rivalry. You know what is rivalry? Rivalry is a kind of an enmity that one person, one firm is having over the others. So, what we say, focus on the competitive advantage of the strategies over the other firms. So, it basically focus on the competitive advantage of the strategies, what strategies you have used and what others are using, which gives you a competitive advantage over the firms. So, basically competition is existing, but whether the rivalry among the competition is very high or low, this is the key point. Now, how can we determine it? For example, you see there are various you can say various factors or various characteristics will tell you similar size of the firms competing. If there is, if in an industry all the firms are of same size, same capacity, similar size, so means they are in a they are in a position to compete with each other very severely, right. But you see, just take an example. If there are two industries, in one industry there are 10 firms, in other industries there are also 10 firms, but in one industry all the 10 firms are of similar size, right, their size are somewhat equal. So, their level of competition will be much different than the another industry where there are 2 big firms and 8 small firms, right. So, we say now there is a not the size is not same. So, the big 2 firms might be controlling the market, so the level of competition will be different. So, all the other 8 firms will not be having rivalry with the big 2 firms, because they know we are unable to compete them. So, rivalry is very important, that if the rivalry is very high, means so then it will be difficult for you to compete, right. High number of the competing firms, if there are too many firms, the first is the firms are similar size. If there are high number of firms, mean there are 100 firms, so obviously then each one will be competing for each single customer. So then they may be doing much more than only making policies or just strategies or marketing, etc. Right? Or another characteristic, if there is a falling demand in the industry product, overall there is a fall in the demand of the products that industry is producing. So in this case, your firm will be fighting for each one individual unit to be sold more than the your competitors, right? Consumer can switch brand easily. Your consumer can switch your product to another product, means there's no switching cost. Like for example, you are selling a biscuit, so if the customer can easily switch one brand for another, right? Like you see, when you go visit the market and you ask for a biscuit and you see they say this is not available, so you say okay, give me another one, right? And you buy any other kind of biscuit relevant or similar to your the one you asked for, right? So in this case, the firm may be you can say in a strong rivalries among each other. Falling product prices if the prices of the product are falling very quickly, so in this case the firm will also have there will be high rivalry among the firms, because already prices are getting less and their level of profit and margin is decreasing. Barriers to leave the industry are high. Barriers to leave means it's not easy for a firm if they are like facing tough competition, so it's not easy for them to quit because of the technology or because of the infrastructure or because of the money that they have invested. So if it's not easy for them to quit, then all the firms will be there, will be fighting with each other for the same market. And if the products are perishable, so again, perishable means which is very quickly that the product can be damaged, or you can say spoiled, right? So it loses its value. Like fruits and vegetable kind of products are perishable, right? So if you have ever visited the fruit market, so you might see that in the evening they are selling the fruits at a or a vegetable at a lower rate, because they know till tomorrow they may not be as fresh as they are today. So if these things are existing in the industry, so then in such industry there will be high competitive rivalry, right? So you have to determine, if you are in operating in such a market, in such an industry where high competitive rivalry is there, so then you have to manage it very well. Second point is threat to entry. Threat to entry means how many threats are there, means barriers are there for the new firm to enter into the market. So the first threat can be economies of scale. If the current firms are operating at a large scale, so economies of scale means when you're operating at a large scale, your per unit cost reduces. So in such case, a new firm will not for a new firm it's not easy to come into the business and produce the product at such a price level at which the current firms are producing, because they are producing hundreds and thousands of units, and since you are new to it, this market, so you may be producing less. So when you produce less, so your per unit cost is high. So that is a threat for the new firm. If there is a high product there is less product differentiation, then in this case all the firms are selling similar product and you are also producing the similar kind of product, so then it's very difficult for you to come into this industry and sell the same product, similar kind of product, because people are already buying the existing brands, they are more loyal to it. If it requires high capital or high tech for that firm, so in this case it again will be difficult for the firm to come into this industry. Switching cost is if high, switching cost is high for a customer, then it is very difficult for you to enter, because all the customers are already buying those product. So if you come into this business, and then in this case they will not be interested to buy your product because they have to pay the price. Like for example, what can be the switching cost? Like you are studying in your masters from any university and you have studied 2 semesters, so it's not very easy for you to switch to another university, because the new university may accept some of your credits, their fee requirement will be changed, that might be away from your home, that might add your transportation cost, their system might be changed, right? So overall you have to pay certain cost for switching from one product to another product or one service to another. So if you are if it is such kind of an industry, so in this case what will happen, it is difficult for the new firm to come. But if it is like switching, there is very low switching cost, like biscuits and candies and toffees and these kind of products, so means customer, you can easily attract customer for yourself. So high switching cost mean threat to entry. Exclusive access to distribution channel, if the firms existing in the industry are having access to the exclusive access to the distribution channel which you may not have or the new firm may not have, so in that case it will be a threat to the entry of the new firm. And similarly, cost advantage like patents or government subsidies are already availed by the current firm, so the new firm it will not be easy for them to get those things, so it will be a kind of threat. So the more the threats are for the new firm, so the less will be the level of competition in the existing firm, because there will be few firms they are operating. But if there are less threats, so more and more firms will come into this industry and the level of competition will rise. Threat to the substitute product, this threat is across the industries, like substitute rail travel versus bus travel, means you can switch from one to another if both are available, even if private car. So these are the substitute, right? Sometimes within an industry, means long life milk, pasteurized milk with the fresh delivered milk, like Tetra packed milk versus fresh delivered milk by the milkman or like the some shops, right? So Porter explained that the substitute limit the potential returns by placing a ceiling on the price which firms in the industry can profitably charge. So these substitute creates a hinders, right? So it's limit the potential returns. Why? Because if there are substitutes, so customer can easily switch to the product. So the more the substitutes are, the close the substitute are, the more will be the competition for you. So the better the price performance alternative offered by the substitute, the more readily customer will switch, right? So customer will switch to other, so it will be very difficult for you to retain him. So in this case, what happens, there will be competition among the firms will be, means there will be high competition, level of competition will be higher. Bargaining power of the customer, sometimes customer have the higher bargaining power. If it happens, then again it will be difficult for the firm, because they have to fight for each customer and they have to make them satisfied. How it becomes higher? When the buyers purchase a high portion of the supplier's total, means if buyers are purchasing in bulks or in a huge quantity, so then they will give you the terms and condition at which they want to buy, right? Because you know that if you lose this customer, so you are losing a big chunk of your sales, right? And your competitor will may take it. Similarly, where the quality of the purchase is unemployment, when the quality is not that important, just sale is important, so then the supplier will not look for the customer will not look for the quality, but he will more focus on the prices. So then you have to provide him, you have to satisfy him, because you know the bargaining power of the customer is very high. Where the product have been strongly differentiated, very highly differentiated product, means now you have to compete with the product which is highly differentiated, so means more unique features. So then then again the customer have high bargaining power, because he or she may go for any other products. And if there is a fall in consumer demand, or if there is overall fall in the demand of the consumers, so then again they will be less interested to buy your products, so they will be, and if you convince them, so they will be giving you their terms and conditions at which they want to buy. So these are the things which can increase the bargaining power of the consumer. And now bargaining power of the supplier, it increases when the degree to which switching cost apply and substitutes are available. So higher the substitutes are, so higher will be the bargaining power. So it increases when there are more substitutes, so then it will be the supplier will switch to them, right? The presence of one or two dominant supplier controlling the price. If there are two suppliers or three suppliers and you have to buy from those from them, so then they will be charging their prices. If you have 10, 20, 30 suppliers from where you can get the raw material, then they will have less bargaining power. But if there are only one or two supplier available, so then they will be giving you the raw material at the price and the terms and condition they want. So they have high bargaining power. The extent to which product offers have a uniqueness of the brand. If there is a supplier have the uniqueness in the brand, so again they will be they will be having high bargaining power. Technical performance or design not available elsewhere, again it's kind of a uniqueness. If it's a kind of unique product or design is not available elsewhere, so then he or she will be charging you the price or the terms and condition that they want. So if they have, but suppliers have any of these things, so they will be their bargaining power will be higher, and you have to be you have to follow them, because there is a that will lead the intensity in the competition, because all the firms will be buying from those suppliers. So these are the five forces which we need to understand of the porter, that if the porter five forces, the firm is well managing all these things, they can deal with the bargaining power of the customer, they can deal with the bargaining power of the suppliers, and they can deal with the threats of the new entrants. So then if these things are existing, so that determine the level of competition in the industry. If there is, let's suppose, less threats high threats to new entry, and less bargaining power of the supplier, and less bargaining power of the consumer, then there is a less low level of competition, and there is a low level of rivalry among the firm. But if it's a vice versa, the rivalry of the firm is high. Okay, so low industry profitability is a barrier to entry, yes or no? Low industry profitability is a barrier to entry. See, it seems apparently it's true, because it's low industry profitability, so it's who will enter, but it's not a barrier. It make an industry unattractive, it does not make it more difficult for a firm to enter, right? So it's a fall, it's not a barrier, because it just make unattractive for the firm, and they may not enter to the firms. But again, it's not, it does not make it